Welcome back. We are joined now by Maryland Republican Governor Larry Hogan. Governor, good to see you. Good morning.
Morning.
So you heard my conversation with the DNC Chair Harrison about semi-fascism as a label that President Biden has applied to Republicans. What do you think of that?
You know, I think it's that kind of divisive rhetoric on both sides that's really bad for America. And I've been talking about the toxic politics. And when if Republicans are calling Democrats socialists and communists, and we have the President of the United States calling Republicans fascist, I don't think it adds to the overall discussion. We ought to just talk about the differences we have on the issues and focus on the problems that most people in America want us to focus on.
Real quickly, do you see any strains of authoritarianism in the Republican Party?
Well, there's no question we see some signs of that, and I've been one of the ones speaking out.
Very good. Governor Hogan, thanks so much. Please stay with us. We will continue our conversation after a quick break. Welcome back to Face the Nation. I'm Major Garrett in for Margaret. We continue our conversation with Maryland Governor Larry Hogan. Governor, we started the show talking about not only the FBI search at MarALago, but the affidavit that was released late this week. Many Republicans believe this is a political effort to harm and tarnish the reputation of former President Trump. Do you agree with them? And do you think the government has been transparent enough in this extraordinary set of events?
Well, it is an extraordinary set of events. It's never happened before with a former president. And so the very first day, I called for more transparency. And I thought it was a good idea for the Attorney General to finally come out and make comments. I thought it was a good idea for them to release some of the information on the affidavit. But we still don't know a whole lot. I mean, most of it was redacted. It didn't give us a lot of color. And so I think some Republicans are saying, without you showing us more to it, we think it may be political.
Are you satisfied?
No, I mean, I'd like to see more transparency.
What would you like to see that you haven't seen yet? Well,
it's hard to tell because in a federal investigation, they've got to keep some things confidential.
Do you want to know more about what the documents were?
We want to know whether or not it was justified or not. And so on the one hand, it could be, as some Republicans think, just a political witch hunt. On the other hand, it could be really serious, federal felonies that we don't know about.
Where do you come down on that question? Witch hunt or legitimate exercise of the federal government's legitimate not only curiosity, but prosecutorial interest in the handling of sensitive documents?
Well, it's hard for me to imagine that.
You haven't made up your mind on that?
Well, I don't know that we have enough information yet. Mm-hmm. I think it's hard to believe that the Justice Department, the FBI, would take steps unless they had something pretty serious that they were investigating. We just don't know the facts yet.
Do you think there's any Republican hypocrisy remembering the locker-up chants from 2016 about Hillary Clinton and her email server?
Well, I think so, but I think there's also, some of the argument the Republicans are making is that they didn't really take these kind of these steps.
Then they're taking them now.
Yeah.
So you side with Republicans who are still very deeply skeptical about it.
I understand why it's dividing the country and why Democrats and Republicans view it differently.
As I understand your travel schedule, Governor, you're heading to New Hampshire again. You've been there before. You've been to Iowa. When are you announcing your 2024 bid?
Well, maybe this morning. No, I'm just teasing.
Go right ahead, Governor.
I'm just going to finish my term as governor.
Well, why are you going to Iowa and New Hampshire?
Well, I'm going to New Hampshire to help the Republican caucus, the House Republican caucus up there. I'm helping candidates across the country, but it's great to get out.
You are looking at it very seriously. True?
I think that's probably an exaggeration. I think we're going to finish the term as governor.
Lukewarm looking at it.
Lukewarm, maybe. Lukewarm.
Very good. In that context, as you think about what you may or may not do on the national stage, how either alarming or maybe giving you a moment for pause was it to see your preferred Republican gubernatorial candidate, Kelly Schultz, lose in a Republican primary for governor in your own state of Maryland?
Well, it was really
what does that tell you?
It was really sad, and it's what I've been talking about for 2 years, that, this should be a really huge year for Republicans just because of the failures of the Democrats and who are in control of everything and Biden's low approval ratings. But we could blow it by nominating unelectable people, and that's exactly what's happening across the country and why the wave is going to be more of a ripple rather than a tidal wave.
You called the winner in that Republican gubernatorial primary, Dan Cox, a QAnon whack job and a nut. I take it you're endorsing the Democratic nominee, Wes Moore.
No, I'm not endorsing anybody in the race, but what I'm doing is helping.
But you're bashing on the Republican nominee, isn't it the same thing?
I've just told the truth. When people ask me a question, I usually give them a direct answer, and I, made it very clear that this guy should not be the nominee and he shouldn't be governor. But I'm not getting involved in endorsing in the race. But this is not just Maryland. This is happening across the country. This is something it's why Mitch McConnell is saying we may not win the Senate. It's why we were hoping to pick up seats in governor's races, and now we're not.
It's
why
to me.
The margin in the House is so much smaller.
It's curious to me, though, Governor. I mean, you won election and then you won re-election with a good number of Democrats in a blue state supporting you. They look to you in this question. You're going to sit out and not tell them
well,
who you think
they
the
already
next
have their
governor of
mind.
Maryland should be?
I think they already have their mind made up. But yes, Maryland's only got 23% Republican. And I had to win, almost all the Republicans and independents and 25% of the Democrats to win. But this candidate is not going to do that.
So is for you, Governor Hogan, for the remainder of your active political life, election denialism a litmus test?
Well, it's certainly something that we shouldn't be focused on. Look, I think the voters are going to decide on issues like inflation, like the out-of-control
would you endorse
crime.
someone who denied that Joe Biden won the 2020 election?
No, I would not.
Would you actively campaign against that Republican?
It depends on who they're running against, whether it was a primary or not. But I've been supporting folks all across the country in Republican primaries that were running against candidates like that, because I think if the Republicans are to get any power back, we're going to have to start talking about the issues people care about and not relitigating what happened in 2020 or denying things that are fact.
So I want to talk about something that's somewhat topical in Pennsylvania in the governor's race there. GOP nominee Doug Mastriano posed for a picture in 2017 wearing a Confederate uniform. Now, this was part of a faculty photo at the Army War College. Now, Mastriano has a Ph.D. in history. The district he represents in the legislature includes Gettysburg. Is this disqualifying in your estimation?
Well, it's the first I've heard the story, and I don't know the circumstances around it, but these are the kinds of problems that I think we're having. We have a similar situation in Maryland with an attorney general candidate who's
not disqualifying, problematic.
It's very problematic, and it could be disqualifying.
Could be disqualifying. Why? Explain to voters who are like, what's the big deal? What would you say?
Well, again, I said I don't know the facts regarding that, but this is just not the kind of way that Republicans are going to win races, that's for sure. And that's my big concern and what I've been talking about for 2 years.
So what is your assessment as governor of Maryland of the president's decision on student loan debt relief? Did he have the authority? Is it inflationary? Support against?
I'm not sure whether he had the authority or not, but I think it was the wrong solution to what is a real problem, but the wrong solution at the wrong time, because I agree it's like throwing gasoline on a fire. Inflation is out of control. It's an issue we've tried to solve in Maryland by holding the line on tuition, by giving scholarships to community colleges, by removing the requirement for 4-year degrees, by trying to make interest deductible on your student loans off of your taxes. But just handing out money to people and being unfair to the people who worked hard to pay off their debt and pouring that money into the inflationary economy is really bad.
Back to politics. If Republicans underperform in this midterms, how much of that will be credibly attributed and blamed on former President Trump?
Well, I think the focus away from the issues and on to President Trump and away from the future and back to the past is going to hurt Republicans. It's a matter of how bad it's going to be.
What are your fears?
My fear is that we don't win the Senate, that we don't pick up gubernatorial seats and potentially lose them, and that I think we'll still take the House, but it's going to be closer than people think.
Republican Governor Larry Hogan, pleasure, sir.
Thank you.